Welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Today we are joined by Jason Malone of We Outreach, a very popular and successful link building agency. We have not talked in depth about link building for a little while in the podcast, and today we just we go really deep on the topic of link building. Now, Jason and his team are building many hundreds of links per month for clients, and so I start by really asking him, and then we end up in a very deep conversation about how to evaluate what is a good link versus a bad link. He has a fantastic framework that he outlines in depth for us. What are the factors that go into it being good and which ones maybe to ignore? What factors are in a bad link? We kind of dive deep into how to identify a PBN or a link farm. And really, the first part of the conversation is all about identifying good links. Second part of the conversation is all about the process. If you've been wondering how to build links at scale, we'll say, not one at a time, but at scale, Jason walks us through the exact process. It's complicated. I thought it's in depth, that's for sure. But he walks through every single thing you need to pay attention to. And really, in each of these steps, how to increase your success rate, how to increase your link conversion rate. And that's really what he gets into. Is link building is a process. It's a numbers game. And the more optimizations, the more things you can do to better your approach, the more success you're going to have. We finish off the conversation by talking about niche selection. He sees a ton of websites. He sees the websites that are earning a lot and the websites that are struggling to earn much. So he has some fantastic tips about how to find and evaluate good niches. Let's put it this way. We went so into depth that at the end of the conversation, Jason remarked that he needed a nap. He had talked in so much depth about things. So definitely sit down and set aside some time to enjoy what Jason has to share with us today on link building. Welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today we are joined by Jason Malone with We Outreach, a link building agency. Jason, welcome.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks for having me.
It's always a good day when we're talking link building, and it's been a while since we've just had an entire podcast on link building. I can just see all the listeners salivating to hear all the things that we're going to talk through and you're going to be sharing. I'm so excited. How about you bring us up to speed on your background, kind of your history in the website world and how you got into link building?
Sure, yeah. So I think it started back in like 2010 or something like that. I found the Warrior Forum, and I was kind of looking for, I was still in university, I guess, at the time, and kind of looking for something that was an alternative to like getting my degree and then getting like some sort of 9-to-5 job. And so the Warrior Forum, I guess a lot of your listeners will be familiar with that. It's like an old school digital marketing, affiliate marketing forum, and found all that really interesting. Was highly skeptical at first, but like after going through it, sort of realized there is actually something here. And the first thing I got into back then was SEO. And like I remember having some small affiliate sites and like promoting stuff on Amazon and doing okay with that. And I think I had a small service as well, like making like really basic, like frankly, pretty shitty affiliate sites for other people. I mean, by today's standards, I say that. Back then, they were like pretty okay, pretty average by the standards back then. So things have changed a bit since then in the last 10 years. But
you don't feel bad. We were all making bad sites back then.
Yeah, I know. And the same with the way we build links back then as well is like totally different than today. And then, from there, I did some other things. I got into like affiliate marketing with Facebook traffic for a while. Facebook also like totally different back then. I guess this was around 2012. I got into that and ended up working for a guy who was already like really successful and proficient with affiliate marketing on Facebook, and had an arrangement where I was on like a profit share deal. So any campaigns I was running, I was getting a share of the profits, and we did really well with that for a few years. And then some other things with paid traffic, like arbitrage with display ads and stuff like that. And eventually so all that sort of wrapped up. And then around 2016, I found the Authority Hacker guys. And it was around the same time that all of this other stuff with the Facebook affiliate marketing ended. and got back into SEO through the authority hacker guys, like affiliate marketing and authority sites, kind of based on their model, and started some of my own sites and did okay from this. And I was and still am in the authority hacker like paid community. And that's where We Outreach, the link building service, came from, because I realized I was a bit like shit at like putting content together for my website and didn't really enjoy it. But I was, for some reason, quite good at link building. I think something about the process just clicked with me, and I could see how I could just put all these different pieces of link building together, and it's just like a numbers game. And most people were the opposite of that. They really liked making content and like working on their sites, but for some reason struggled with like link building and outreach, because one, I guess it's difficult, but two, you're kind of putting yourself out there and you got to like interact with the real world rather than like real people, rather than just like interacting with your website. And it's a different type of thing. And so at some point I got some of my buddies in there, and like 2 or 3 guys, I remember there was discussions in the group about them wanting to find a way to outsource link building. And I kind of just started talking to them privately and said, you give me $1,000, I'll give you 10 links a month. Like, let's see how this goes. And that's where We Outreach and sort of my complete dedication to link building started from, about like 4.5 years now. And yeah, those years later, like still focused on nothing else. I don't own or operate my own sites or anything anymore. It's all just link building these days. And I think running an agency is plenty challenging enough without spreading my focus to websites again. Although I'm always tempted to get back into it. But yeah, that kind of brings us up to today, just running the agency, running the team, and yeah, building links for like tons and tons of different clients. So
I think you probably hit the nail on the head in that, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but my sentiments are the same as yours. Like, it just seems like, hey, link building is one of the things that everyone loves to talk about, but no one likes to actually do. People do it, but there are people who just believe so strongly in the need for it that they just muscle through it. It's so rare to find someone who enjoys link building, and perhaps that's why some people don't bother doing it. What do you think you kind of touched on it a bit about the processes, but what about link building? What about the processes makes it so exciting for you, or perhaps makes it something that you're successful at?
I think I could just see that it was a numbers game from the very start. And I didn't find it daunting that it was like, okay, I need to contact like 200 people just to get like 1 or 2 links or something like that. I could see, okay, I start with the 200 people, and then I like put them into this tool, like find the email addresses, like clean the data in this way, like then outreach in this way. And I really think of it like a machine. And there's like all these little different places where you can tweak the machine to like make it more effective, so that your inputs at the start, your prospects, go through all these different stages and then end up like as links at the other side. And there's so many different ways to get an advantage for yourself with all these different things. Like, just a few random examples that off the top of my head, like many people struggle to get their emails delivered to the inbox every time. Like a lot of people, their emails go to the spam or like promotions folder, things like this. If you can get really, really good at deliverability, that's one part of your, one section of your machine where you're like better than everyone else. And if you can do this in all the different sections, have like good writers that come up with engaging templates that are better, get better responses than everyone else templates, like stand out more in the inbox. That's another chance for you to stand out. Better prospecting, like finding better contacts or more email addresses than everyone else. Like that's another way to stand out. And yeah, I think there was just something about the logic of thinking about it like a machine that appealed to me somehow. And it just, whatever way my brain works, like this just fit with it a lot better than thinking about content. And you can think about content from a logical and structured way too, but there's definitely also like this creative element to like creating like really, really good content. And that just didn't click with me somehow, just not as much, not to the same extent that link building did.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, your approach to link building is probably so synonymous with why you're successful. Like you break it down into such a numbers game, and you're not afraid of the numbers behind it, and then just constantly optimizing each of the processes. Where is I mean, you're with We Outreach. Where are you guys now? Like, give us some numbers in terms of maybe how many backlinks a month you're building, or, in terms of the number of clients you work with, just to give us some idea of the scope of links you guys handle on a monthly basis.
Yeah, probably the easiest is to say we build between like 400 and 500 links per month. So that's the sort of level we're at now, spread across some clients do like 30 or 40 links a month. Others just want to do like 5 or 10 links a month. So it's a big range of like different types of websites, different types of projects. Some are just different sizes basically, and different sizes and different types of companies. So we have like affiliate sites and niche sites, and then on the other end we have like software companies and different types of like bigger businesses like this that have kind of a different need in their link building. So yeah.
Well, that's a lot of links. That's a lot of links per month. I guess it's a numbers game, but even at that number, it feels so daunting. All right, well, hey, let's take it from the top here. It's 2022. What types of links are you guys building? Which ones, or what types of links are you seeing be successful? Give us a little bit of an overview about, kind of link building 2022 style.
Sure. So I think the foundation of everything when it comes to link building is how you think about the quality of the links that you build. And I think something that is really common these days is people think about individual metrics of the links that they're trying to build. So like super common is like, oh, I only want links that have like a DA or DOR like of more than 20 or 30 or whatever number you want to pick. And we look at like many more factors of link quality. But the big thing that we do is like balance these factors against each other. So I think these days, like no link is perfect. And you got to start with that realization. And then when you're looking at a website and looking at a link and thinking, do you want to build it or not? You need to balance the positive factors about that link against the negative factors of that link. So for example, maybe you have a website that has like, a strong DOR and like gets a ton of organic traffic, but it's a little bit like the relevance to your site is not super tight. It's a little bit of a broader site or something like that. And so you have the two columns of things there. Column A is like the good things about the site, like lots of organic traffic, like really high DOR. In column B, negative things about the site. It's not super related to your website and is a little bit broad. And we look at other things too, like for example, the quality of the outbound links of the site. It's like are they linking to just like all sorts of shady places in like every single post? Like, is it like a link farm, or is it like, on the other hand, like totally clean, or is it somewhere in between those two things? And but you got your column A good things, column B bad things, and then trying to balance them against each other. So are the positive factors in column A, do they outweigh the negative factors in column B? And if they do, then cool, you build that link. And if they don't, then you don't build that link. And so we have our own way of doing this and how we weight the different factors against each other. We put like a lot of weighting or a lot of importance on the relevance of the links. And also I really like the amount of traffic that a website gets as an indicator of quality, just because to me, it's like if Google is sending a website, 50 or 100,000 visits a month from their platform, that's a pretty decent indication of quality to me. So we really like those two, and put to a lesser extent, domain rating I don't like so much, but it's still worth considering as like a rough approximation of the strength of a link profile. And we look at all these things and apply our different importance weightings to the various factors, and then balance all the factors against each other for every link we build. And then we have a simple spreadsheet tool where we put all these factors in and sort of balance it all out, and then come to a conclusion at the end of like, do we want to build the link or not? And once everyone can set their own, everyone sort of needs to come up with their own version of this based on their risk tolerances and mostly their risk tolerance, because some people they only want to build like really, really sort of safe, clean links. Like they only want if you have a website about fishing, they only want links from other websites about fishing, for example. And some people want to do it that way, and it's like, so if that is your approach to link building, and that's the way that you approach your risk tolerance, then you can set up this sort of balance of factors based on that. Whereas if you're willing to be a little bit more aggressive and think like, okay, I'm gonna expand my quality standards for the trade-off of being able to build more links, because I think that is the better balance and it's more within my risk tolerance, then you can do that as well by sort of changing the way that you weight the different factors and how you balance them against each other. And so all that gives really good clarity, because when you start building links, even for me, I see it now. Sometimes I will look at a link and straight away, like I apply all sorts of different biases. Like I'll open the homepage and get like a knee-jerk reaction and think like, oh, this site is shit for like whatever reason. But then if I actually go and like put it into our spreadsheet tool and balance all the factors against each other, I actually realize, oh, okay, it's actually, it would be a good link because the redeeming qualities, the good things about it outweigh the bad things. And so it's, especially if you have a team of link builders and you want to define a single standard, sitting down and coming up with something like this is really, really useful. And I think that's the foundation of link building these days. And then the game beyond that is to get as many opportunities coming across your desk as you can. I think the best way to do that is with email outreach, and like quite a broad approach to outreach. Just get as many responses and websites coming across your desk as you possibly can. Then you just put all of those through your quality filters, and anything that passes the quality filter, then you build that link, and anything that doesn't, you don't build that link. And that's the way we approach it. And I think it's slightly uncommon to approach it that way, where you're balancing the factors against each other. I think not enough people do that these days, and I think there's a lot of benefit in doing it that way. And it lets you strike the right balance between maintaining a high enough quality standard and also building enough quantity of links to be competitive. Because it's a bit counterintuitive, but if you restrict your quality standards too much, then you don't build a high enough volume of links, and then you're restricting them based on your definition of quality, but it's different than Google's definition of quality. And then your competitor, who has a broader definition of quality, is building a higher quantity of links, and then they just beat you at the end of the day. So people think sometimes it's a fairly common thing I see, people think they're being like lowering their risk by tightening their quality standards like a lot. But they do it too far, and without realizing it, they kill their ability to build a decent quantity of links. And that is actually a risk in itself too, because then you lose to your competitors who are building more links. So I think that's sort of an underappreciated risk of how many people build links these days and think about the quality.
Let's talk about those factors if we could. Maybe could we just give some high levels about what are bullet point lists? What's a bullet point list of like the good factors to think about? What are some things that should end up on bad factors, things that are bad in a link that someone is considering to build?
So we look at the domain rating, the traffic, the quality of the outbound link profile, the relevance at 3 different levels, like the relevance of the website as a whole, the relevance of the specific page on the website, and then the relevance of the specific section of that page, and like the anchor text and the specific placement. We're also looking at, for the organic traffic, we're looking at where that organic traffic comes from, so the countries that it's coming from, and the keywords that the website ranks for, and also the trend in that traffic. We want to avoid websites that have like a big sudden drop in organic traffic, for example, which could be a sign that Google has changed their mind about that website. So those are what we look at and balance all those factors against each other. And then I would say we also have some like hard no factors. So for example, the like websites that are just too much like a pure sort of link farm, like it doesn't, when you see something like that, like all of these factors kind of matter a lot less, just because I think there's so much more risk to a website where you go and look, and every single page just like has obvious paid links to like low quality places. I would say that that's a big type of site to avoid. And so the way that we're starting to think about it lately is the first step in the quality grading is we put all the links through like a hard no gate, and if they pass through that gate, then we go and look at all of these other factors: the domain rating, the traffic, the relevance, and balancing all them off each other, and then coming up with the final thing of like, do we want to build this link or not?
I think you've touched on it twice now, and maybe for someone who is just thinking about building links, the topic of which websites to avoid links from is probably a bit scary, right? Like, how do I know if that website that's offering me a link or that I'm working with to get a link from is a link farm, is a PBN? Obviously, 10 years ago, PBNs were pretty obvious. Many are harder to find now, and especially these link farms that don't look outwardly as though they're necessarily bad. What are some tips for people to identify what a link farm website looks like, what a PBN site looks like, especially in today when they're maybe a little harder to find?
I think you can actually identify them reasonably well by looking at the website and also at the outbound links. So like looking at the website, most of these link farms, like the owners actually don't put that much effort into them. I think you go and look at it, and it's just like it's just like a basic WordPress theme is what it looks like. And the homepage, there's no branding on the homepage. The homepage is just like all of their most recent posts, and usually there's been like 5 posts in the last with a date of like the last day, and like every single one of them is on a different topic, like supplements for this, like invest in crypto for this, CBD for that, like all these different like random topics. And so that's the first thing. If you open a website and you see just a generic like simple WordPress install plus all of these like stock photos and like a whole array of different topics, that's already like, okay, it's looking pretty sketchy. After that, I like to check two places. One is just like start clicking on the articles and like scrolling through the articles. And I have like a browser extension, or it's not really an extension. I found some piece of JavaScript, or I don't know, somewhere, but I can click this from my Chrome toolbar, and it highlights all the links on the page. I'm sure there's plenty of extensions out there to do that. So I quickly scroll through, and I'm just looking at the links on the page, looking for like the obvious low quality links, obvious paid links. And usually on a site like this, if the homepage looks the way I described, you can identify these like within seconds of looking at the pages. So open 4 or 5 pages, look at these. If you see like a link to like the lead generation page of a law firm, and the anchor text is like NYC lawyer. If you see links to like best X pages from like different affiliate sites, that's another like fairly obvious like paid link. And it's also pretty common, like CBD, casinos, and like essay writing services are like really common ones that you'll see as well. I don't know why the essay writing services are are so common in there, but there's links to those everywhere on these sites. And so that is the next place to look, is like look at the outbound links of those articles. And then also in Ahrefs, it's the SEO tool that I use and we use We Outreach. If you go to the outbound links report, that's an easier way to do what I just described in like a faster and more bulk way. So you can go there and like sort so that you can see the links by the most recent ones at the top, and then just start like scrolling through and try and get a sense of like the outbound link habits of the website right now, and get a sense of like, yeah, are they linking to legitimate sources, or are they just like linking to like all these shitty places over and over again? And I think that's the best way to do it. And I think the last thing I would say is there's I guess 3 different groups that I would put websites into. On the one end of the spectrum, you have like these pure link farms, like they're 100%, like you should avoid them. They're super obvious, and they're sort of in one bucket. Then on the other side, you have like sites that are like fairly legitimate, and like they do more. The sites serve a purpose beyond just like linking out to other sites. Like they actually have some sort of branding, like they produce content, they get traffic for relevant keywords or keywords that make sense, stuff like that. And then in the middle, you have like all sorts of like a range of different sites between these two things. So like sites that are like not a pure link, like not as obvious as what I just described, but like they're so that maybe they have the homepage is a little bit better, but they still just have tons of so they still just have tons of articles and tons of shitty outbound links. And so you need to think about where it is. A link farm is not a black and white, like yes or no. A link farm is on like a spectrum, and you need to think about where the link farm is on that spectrum. And sometimes if it's on the safer or like higher quality end of that spectrum, it can still sometimes be worth building the link if it has other redeeming qualities. So if the site gets a lot of organic traffic, if the DR is okay, if the topical focus of the website is narrow. So if it's like a bit link farmy, but it focuses like entirely on personal finance, and you have a personal finance website, for example, and the website gets good traffic, then it might be worth considering building that link. Because, and again, it's thinking about it in this way of like balancing the good factors against the bad factors. And so, yeah, I think about link farms on a spectrum like that.
There never was a more appropriate time to use the phrase, it depends in SEO, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good answer though. Yeah. And I think you're right. There's certainly learning how to avoid the obvious ones, and the big one, like the obvious link farms and PBNs is really probably the top most important approach that people need to grasp if you're just starting link building. You talked about it a couple minutes ago. Let's go back to it. This idea of relevance. Maybe I'll set the stage as relevance versus power, or maybe there's other factors to put into that comparison. The idea of maybe a high DR site, or just maybe a high traffic site, or a well-aged site. The idea that this site has a lot of power going for it. I'm using air quotes for those of you listening on the podcast, versus relevance. Maybe a low traffic site, maybe a low DR site, maybe a site that's brand new, but spot on about your topic that you're trying to rank for, build a link to. Obviously it depends or both, or, obviously in a perfect world, we want that fishing site that's a DR 91, but how does a site owner balance or approach this topic of power versus relevance? I hope I did a good job giving you kind of a larger topic to toy with there.
Yeah, sure. I get it. And I think, like you said, links from either of those types of websites can be good. And probably you want like a mix of links from both of those different types of websites, because they're both good, but for different reasons. And so, and that's the main reason that we have this, like the quality framework I described earlier. The thing is, it balances all of the factors against each other, and it kind of gives you this framework that you can set up to see what is a quality link, but also accounts for the fact that it can be a quality link for different reasons. And so it kind of comes back to that thing, I think, of like balancing the good factors against the bad factors of a link. So if a website has a lot of power, like that's great, and so long as the other side of it, like being like the relevance and stuff, so long as that isn't too bad and it doesn't detract too much from the power side of the equation, then it's probably a link that's worth building. And on the other hand, if it's like super high relevance, super clean, like for example, you have like a gardening website and you're getting a link from like a gardening center that like barely links out to anyone else, like they're just running their gardening center and they have like a blog associated with that, and you manage to get a link from that, but it's only like DR 15 and gets like 500 visitors a month or something from Google. It's still a great link because it's like so relevant and also pretty rare. And like usually those links come because your website and the resources that you're promoting on your website are like really, really high quality and like really, really worth that website linking to them, which means that your competitors can't get that link, which I think is a big thing. Like if you're only using like link farm sites or sites where it's just really, really easy to buy a link, like they sell links to anyone, like all of your competitors and like anyone can copy those links. And so they're less rare and less valuable. And so I really like the small sites as well. Like these like a gardening center linking to your gardening website. I think links like that are awesome. And yeah, but I think a healthy link profile has like a mix of all of these things. And yeah, I think you need to be open-minded with it and just think about it in this way of like balancing the good factors of the link against the bad factors of the link.
Are there ever scenarios where for a specific website, you see maybe a greater need for the higher power type of links or a greater need for the high relevance links? Is it just a situation where, oh, you don't have as many links that are relevant, so let's get some more relevant links versus power? Or is it like, oh, your website's new, so you need a lot of powerful links more so than relevant links? Like, are there ever scenarios where you see the need for one over the other or more of one over the other?
I think when a website is new, it doesn't matter as much. And the thing is, so the other thing with link building is it's difficult to build like only one type of link, and so no matter what you do, you're going to get some sort of a mix anyway. And unless you're you could build like one specific type of link, but the cost is like much more inefficiency. So like if you decide I only want links from these local sites, that's fine, but like your cost per link is going to be massive just because of like restricting yourself so much. So for a new site, I think just like building any type of link, like a mix of like the relevant ones and the high power ones, I think that's good, and that like starts to put the foundation in place for the website. And new websites are honestly like pretty easy from the link building perspective. Like if you have the foundation of like good content and like really good on-site optimization, so a good structure of the website, good internal link structure, good architecture of the website, plus also like well-optimized content and high quality content. If you have that as the foundation, with link building, you like for a new site, you don't need to think that too much. You don't need to think too deeply about it. Like just start building links, like build a mix of different links, and it's when you combine these two things together, good content plus good links, like you start to see the results pretty reliably, I think. When a website starts to get a bit more developed, it starts to make sense to look at individual pages on that website and look at like, okay, this page like ranks like 10th right now, but if we build like X links directly to this page, it has a chance to be in like the top 5, top 3, something like this. And I think that's when it makes more sense to start looking at the specific link profiles of the competitor pages, and looking at what type of links do they have, like what's the strength of the links that they have, and what do we need to build to be competitive with those. And usually, so this type of link building is much more costly because you're restricting yourself to just a single page. So normally when we email a website, even if we built a campaign around a specific page, if we email a website and they reply to us and for some reason the original page doesn't work out, we can still say like, oh, like, can we do a guest post, or like, oh, we got this other page, like maybe you'd link to us to that one instead, or like we have other options. And that adds a lot of efficiency to link building. But when you're restricted to just an individual page, it becomes a lot more costly. Basically, your cost per link goes up when you're focused on specific pages like this. So usually it's only worth it for commercial pages where you're going to make a decent ROI. You're going to generate more revenue when you move from like position 10 to position 3 or something like that. So it's worth this higher investment. So that's kind of the way we think about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's transition a bit and talk about processes for link building. We've spent so much time talking about how to evaluate quality links and what is a quality link and balancing all this stuff. Let's shift to processing or the process that you guys have set up. I love how you broke it down a little bit, and I wanted to maybe double down on it. You talked about how if you can, it's just a big system, it's just a big process. And for you guys, success has really laid in optimizing each of those things. You improved deliverability, you've improved your ability to build links. And you started talking about, I even wrote it down, like one of the processes is how to prospect for contacts. One of the processes is deliverability. One of the processes is having rock solid email templates. Maybe can you outline for us what are the different buckets or processes that get assembled into link building, so people can kind of get their mind around, oh, I need to optimize that. I need to optimize that. I need to be good at that.
Sure, yeah. So a link building campaign is like made up of your prospect list, and your prospect list, the target page or target website where you're trying to build the links, and then the messaging that you're going to send to that prospect list. So whatever the template is, and our link builders start by building those two things, the template and the prospect list. And we build the prospect list by the prospect list is based on the target page, target website. We do it in two ways. We either scrape Google for like relevant keywords. So if we're building links for a gardening website, I always use gardening websites as the example, but it always comes to, I feel like the more often I use it, the more likely I am to use it the next time. And now it's been like 2 years and I just keep using gardening websites.
Okay.
But
good one.
yeah. But so if we're building links for a gardening website and we're building a prospect list, we would do things for scraping Google. We would do things like find keywords about like plant care for different types of plant. So like how to care for like this breed of plant, how to care for that breed of plant, and so on. And we scrape Google for these results, meaning that we have a tool, Scrapebox, or even you can do it with Ahrefs or the other SEO tools, where for each one of those keywords you go and essentially look at the results that appear in Google for these keywords. And usually, if it's a website that's writing about like how to care for a specific type of plant, it's a website that is either entirely or partially about gardening. So that's a good prospect for our outreach for link building for the gardening website. So that's one way that we build links. The other way is by looking at our competitors, so other gardening websites, and looking at the websites that link to those gardening websites. Usually they are also somewhat related to gardening, and also there's a little bit extra there because they've already linked to some other gardening websites. So that's kind of a good it's an extra chance maybe they'll link to another gardening website. And so that's how we build the initial prospect list. When you do this, you get like just a big messy list of domains, and then it needs to go through several other stages of filtering. The first one is trying to find the right contact for whoever runs that website. The easiest way, and I think the most common way of doing this, is you take that list and you put it into like hunter.io or one of these other tools. They have it's like an email finding tool. They have a big database of emails. You put the list through there, it brings back the emails. Then you take the emails and then you put them through like a verification tool to verify that they're valid emails and that your emails aren't going to bounce. And going through this process with this simple way, if you start with a raw list of, let's say, 100 prospects, if you put them through hunter.io, probably you're left with 60 prospects after that it has found an email address for. And then after you verify the deliverability of that email address, maybe you're down to like 30 or 40 that actually have a valid email from the initial list of 100. And that's the simple way to that. I think most link builders, I think they do a simple process like this.
That's the simple way, huh?
Yeah.
I hate to hear the complicated way then.
Well, the thing is that this way is just using a series of different tools. So
yeah,
you got a hunter.io, you throw it in there. You got a Neverbounce, you throw it in there, and it's fairly straightforward. But
cumbersome, but simple to kind of understand and grasp. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a much more the more complex way, which I'll just touch on briefly because I think it's something that nobody does, but is like really, it's one of the areas where you can get a competitive advantage over everyone else who's doing similar processes, which is to manually identify the best contact for the website that you're for the prospect website. And there's a few benefits to that. Firstly, your email is going to be going to the right person. So if you take a second just to look at who works at the company and you send your email to the editor instead of sending it to the customer support person or something like that, that already improves your chances. The other thing is that there's a lot of email addresses that you can find either by looking at the website itself, or this is my favorite tip coming up. You go on LinkedIn, you need to get Sales Navigator to get access to all of the all of the LinkedIn data. They like won't show you the names of people who work in specific roles at companies, but you find the company on LinkedIn. You find who is the most appropriate person at that company. In a small company, maybe it's the owner. In a bigger company, maybe it's like a content writer or like an editor, something like that. And then pretty often their email address will not be listed in one of these email finding tools. But you can there's like 5 or 6 different versions of email addresses that are the most common at these companies. So it can be like first name at whatever.com, first name dot second name at whatever.com. So you just and there's tools like where you can like just put in the name, first name, surname, and the domain, and it will like pump out this like 10 different versions of the email address. Then you just take all those and put them into an email verification tool, and then one of them will come back as like a valid email address. And then now you found an email that is like for a good person, but also an email that like 99% of other link builders can't find because they're just using these automated tools. And now you have an address that's like, they're not getting spammed to death every day by like people asking for links, because that's what people experience whose email address is in one of these databases. Everyone is just doing it. So that's a nice tip for how you can get a little extra edge at like this stage of the preparing your prospect list, like stage of putting the campaign together. And once the prospect list is ready, then your email template is the other thing that's important. The best email templates are short and sweet and to the point. And typically what we see working these days is focusing on what is going to be valuable to the prospect that you're emailing. Typically these days, they're interested in 3 things work the best. One is like paying them for a link. Many websites like that now, even not pure link farms, like websites that care about their editorial standards and have good content and everything. They still want to get paid. They understand that they're doing something valuable for you and they want a piece of the action. The other thing is doing guest posts. So you can base your templates around these things. And the other is a 3-way link exchange, which is maybe easier for us to do with the scale that we have as an agency, but it's where you email someone and say, hey, I'd like a link. If you link to my website, I'm doing all this email outreach to like all these other prospects. I'll get you a link from one of their prospects to your website, and here's the quality standards I'll use. And then that's like, so that appeals to some websites, but it depends on, every prospect is kind of different, and it depends on what matters to them. Some just want the cash, some are doing their own SEO and they want the links. So this 3-way link exchange is appealing, and others are happy to take like free content in the form of like a good guest post. And so you can play around with different templates, but the main thing is your email templates. The main thing is to think about what matters to the prospect. Many people, when they're writing these templates, they focus very much on their own brand. Like, hey, we have this great article about like whatever. Would you check it out? Would you give me feedback? Would you link to it? And like more and more, like people, this used to work much better like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Now people are just like seeing these types of emails over and over again, and they're just jaded and they just don't care anymore. So I think it makes a lot more sense these days to focus on the prospect rather than focusing on yourself. And yeah, keep the templates like really short and sweet. Usually helps to like start with a joke, like get their attention in some way, stand out from like all of the other emails they're getting in the day, make them smile, makes them more likely to read your email and actually engage with you. And those are some like quick tips for an email template. I guess the last 2 things are the deliverability of the email, and then like also like handling the responses that you get. I guess if you've done everything else well, handling the responses is one of the easier parts. But the deliverability, the main thing for that is showing email providers like the big inboxes, like Outlook and Gmail and Google, that you are like a quality sender. So it means like not sending emails in too high of a volume before you're like, you need to build up to it. If you're just starting this from fresh, start out sending like 10 emails a day, like use Mailshake or one of these other like bulk email sending tools. Start just sending 10 emails a day to like warm up your domain. If you go too hard too quickly, like the inbox providers, like they think like, oh shit, like this guy's emailing a lot, like we've never seen this domain before, like it must be something spammy, like let's like just add into the spam folder. So you got to be careful about that. And then a more sophisticated way is sort of engineering responses to your campaigns. So there's like services out there now that you can that you can sign up to, where you basically join like a network of other people who are trying to improve the health of their email inboxes, and their software just like sends emails from all the different accounts to each other, and then their software will like mark the email as not spam and like respond to the email or something like that. So basically this is a way of sending good signals to the algorithms of the email providers, similar to SEO in a way. Like we build links to send good signals to Google. You have good email interactions to send signals to Google also, but for their spam algorithms and stuff. So that's another important factor, like engineering that. So go slow, use one of these services to like engineer some responses to make your inbox look healthy and make it look like people are responding to you. And then when people do respond to you, even if they say like, oh no, go away, make sure you always reply back to them and say like, oh, you know, thanks, no worries, I won't bother you anymore, or have some sort of interaction, because the more real life emails back and forth that you have between your account and other people, the healthier your inbox is going to be. So you need to maximize these like health signals of your inbox. And it's all this stuff that helps you get in the inbox when you send your emails. And if you don't pay any attention to this, you end up either in the promotions folder or the spam folder. And that like is detrimental to the quality of your campaign. So that's doing this well is another way that you can eke out another edge. When you actually get the responses, it's just talking to the person and trying to figure out how can I persuade this person to link to me? Like, is it going to be a guest post? Do they just want a payment, or like a three-way link exchange, or like, can I say something witty, like to make them laugh and make them like me more, and then they'll link to me for that? It's like, it's a little bit like sales, and you need to be a little bit creative with the emails. But all the work we've done up to this point is in like teeing up the ball, and when it's in the inbox, you just need to be like ready to like knock it out of the park. And that's like the final step of getting the link. And yeah, and again, it's another place at the very bottom of the machine where you can also be more effective than other people and get another edge there, and like make the most of the opportunities that you've generated for yourself and build as many links as possible. And that's probably yeah, that's an overview of the link building process. Maybe I went into too much detail in certain parts, but yeah, hopefully some of that is useful.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. I was taking notes over here feverishly. I think your comments on deliverability are probably, I wanted to highlight just because it's probably an area that's oft missed or glossed over by people. And, but you know, like we don't know what we don't know. You don't know when your email is not really making it into people's inboxes. And so it's kind of this, the dog that doesn't bark sort of scenario. Are there any ways that you know of to identify, I guess would be the best way? Like, how do you know if you have a deliverability problem? Are there any ways to see that or sense that?
Yeah, I mean, quick thing you can do is like email your personal Gmail address and see where it lands. But obviously that's not, you know, the most reliable or consistent way to do it. There's a tool that we use. I think it's glockapps.com. If you go there, that's basically, so GlockApps has like 50 different email addresses at like some at Gmail, some at Outlook, etc. They give you, and they'll give you this list of emails, and you basically send your campaign template to them, and they'll give you an ID to include in it. And so they know when it hits their inboxes, they know that this ID, like when they see this ID, they know it's coming from your accounts basically. And then they monitor the deliverability in all of these inboxes, and you get a report. You're in the inbox with Google, but you're in the spam folders with Outlook, for example. And then they'll also check the actual messaging and tell you like, oh, you've used keywords that commonly trigger spam filters. And it's quite thorough. And they give you like a really good report. And then the next step beyond that, of course, is if you are in the spam folders or you have issues like your IP address is on a blacklist, actually figuring out how to address those issues is like a whole other kettle of fish. Sometimes it's yeah, it's like
a whole other podcast,
yeah, so,
I bet.
yeah, a whole other deal.
Okay. We'll leave that.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on some other things that you probably learned through LinkedIn. But before we transition, one more question. Any other operational like tips that you can give people? I mean, it's clear you're an operations master, I'll say, just with all these moving parts. But any other tips for maybe not specifically about that link building process, but just operational tips that help give you better success when it comes to link building?
So I have an operations manager, and he's been a game changer for me because he's good at a lot of the things that I'm not good at. I'm good at seeing from the high level how this machine should come together, and I'm good at like figuring out like, oh, but like if we just do this, like this thing to like manage the deliverability, like that can work, or this can like help with the deliverability. But he's really good at taking those ideas and then like operationalizing them and like making sure that they're done consistently and making sure that the whole team understands them. And so like the tools he uses for doing that are like good project tracking, like some sort of project management software, so you can like keep on top of your like some stats for your campaigns and how things are going and who's managing those and what the goals for those campaigns are and how you're progressing towards those. And then the people management is probably like the biggest part of that, like getting everyone pulling in the right direction and behind the same set of standards it's really, really difficult, like really difficult. Maybe the most difficult thing about running an agency is just keeping everyone aligned, and it gets like exponentially more difficult as you hire more people. But even at a small size, it's difficult, even if you only have like 2 or 3 people. And so I think having a good structure, like look up some sort of structures for like weekly meetings with your direct reports and how you should approach that. Like it should be that you as the manager are supporting them, not that they are supporting you. So that's a good like framework for approaching these meetings. And then like setting weekly goals, like reviewing those goals every week on the call, and like making sure you stay on top of your training and everything like that. And as the company gets bigger, you need to think more about like the culture of the business and stuff like this. But even at the small level, I think having good people, hiring, it could be a podcast in itself as well. I'll give a shout out to my friend Ujis at recruitermill.com. He's like awesome at hiring. He's hired everyone for me for the last like 2 years. But he does it so well because he has the framework down and he's done it many times. And so it's like everything else. You need to get your reps in to get better at hiring. But hiring really good people and then managing them effectively is like crucial. It holds you down so much if you don't have good people to like run these operations. So yeah, outside of the specifics of link building, I think your people management stuff is by far the most challenging and most important aspect.
Makes sense. Let's, with a few minutes left that we have, let's go a bit off topic. And I mean, look, you build hundreds and hundreds of links a month, which means that you interact with tens of thousands of websites a month, but you also get to kind of be on the inner circle on the websites that you're building links for. Obviously you're understanding their needs and then the links they need, the links you get, what that ends up doing for the site. You also have vision into which niches have more difficult niches to build links in versus easier. Like I would just love to get some top level insights that you've learned about whether it's niche selection or competition or what works and what works better in certain areas. Like I just feel like you have so much access that none of us get to have.
So the most interesting sites and niches for me are the ones that are in more obscure but very high value niches and industries. So I think when many people are getting started in this game, things like fishing, gardening, camping / hiking, like all these types of things, golf, like are really easy to understand. Like you can visualize very easily how that can work, because there's such mainstream topics like, okay, a golf website, I review golf clubs, like an Amazon, the most accessible affiliate program in the world, probably. It's like, okay, I can see the pieces of that, and then you got to learn all the other all the other things about like setting up a website and hosting and WordPress and da 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 da. And so I think that's a good place to start. But the ones that are more interesting to me are the more obscure ones, like things that aren't necessarily super mainstream, like certain elements of the personal finance industry, or like like investment stuff, particularly like these industries where there's a lot of money, and even like a small sub niche of a sub niche almost can have like a massive potential to earn money with like a very low amount of users sometimes. So like, and I think it's a really good exercise for people to sign up to. So the easy thing to do is just go to Amazon and like use that affiliate program. But if you're willing to like go to offervault.com or one of these other places that has like a bunch, like you can find just a bunch of different affiliate networks there, just go and spend like 2 or 3 hours, just start signing up to affiliate networks. And most of them will have reps that are like willing to get on the phone with you and talk about what they see working. And these affiliate networks, like their job is to get as many offers as they can from companies. And obviously, like they also want to earn from, or they also earn more from the high value niches. And so the affiliate managers, they're very happy to tell you about like which industries are the best. And like they'll even tell you like the earnings per click from like all these different offers and industries that they have. And it takes you can get you can get access to some of this just by browsing OfferVault. That is also really, really useful just to see some of these more obscure things. But if you actually go and talk to the affiliate managers, they like you can even pitch them an idea like, hey, I've been doing research on this niche. I see you have this offer about it. Is there anyone else doing SEO? Like, and how successful are they? Sometimes they'll even show you the competitors' websites, and you can like go and like reverse engineer them on Ahrefs and stuff like that. But it does take like getting on the phone, and a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. But if you like think about this like a real business where you would go and like interact with people, and you can get like a really a lot of insights and big advantages by doing things like this. And yeah, those are the most interesting types of sites that I see. And the other concept that I would keep in mind is something like a website that's focused on the Amazon affiliate program. That can be like the investment in content and links for that is not always huge, and you stand a good chance at making a return from like the relatively small investment. And a lot of people shy away from some of the more difficult niches like personal finance and investing and things like that, because they think like, oh, it's super competitive, which it is. And it takes like much more, it takes much more investment, which is also true. But you can actually sometimes, even if, so there's two things. One, you can sometimes make a higher return on investment percentage than you would at the smaller niches. So that's already a good thing. But also, even if your ROI is lower for a bigger industry like this, your actual real money returns can be a lot bigger, because let's say you invest $5,000 in like a fishing site or something like that, and over the lifetime of the site, like your return on this project is like, let's say $20,000 or something like that. So you've had like a massive ROI on the $5,000. On the other hand, you choose like a super competitive niche where you need to invest like $50,000 or $100,000 or something like that. And like, let's say it's $50,000 and you make like your return from that is $100,000. The actual percentage return on investment is much lower, but the real money returns is like much larger. And so I think as you get more advanced as an affiliate, it makes more sense to use those skills that you have to go for these higher competition niches. And a way to like really get your mind running and get ideas flowing for these is like sign up to 20 different affiliate networks, get on some calls and let them tell you like what's working now, and like reveal the competitors for you, so you can go and reverse engineer and get some ideas.
Wow, that's a good tip for niche selection, and not one I have ever heard before. So that hour flew by, Jason. That was phenomenal. Sure. Is there anything? I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but any really, really, really important things that we didn't tackle today that you think need to get shared, or that we didn't, that we just completely, washed over and missed?
Nothing that comes to mind right now. The hour did fly by. You're right, but I think we covered a lot of ground in there. I think I need to take a nap after all this talking in the last hour. So nothing else comes to my mind right now. I think we covered a lot of ground, and it was pretty fun. So yeah, thanks, Jared.
I'm not even kidding. We could have, like, each thing we talked about, I feel like we could have spent an hour on. So,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
which bodes well for maybe doing a part 2 some point. Hey, so where can people learn more about We Outreach and follow along with what you're doing, or perhaps get in touch with you if they have any other questions?
Yeah, I think the easiest is just weoutreach.com. Go there, or you can, if you want to email me, it's jason@weoutreach.com. We don't have a huge presence online, to be honest, and don't have a ton of content on the website. I don't have a blog or anything like that. Like we mostly just do well from referrals, like from our existing clients. But the homepage at least should give a decent idea of what we're about, and yeah, share some of the experience that our clients have had with us. And yeah, other than that, like, there's a form on the homepage if you're interested in talking to us, or email me directly, and I'm happy to talk as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, thank you for coming on board and sharing so many really amazing detailed tactics. I mean, one could think that since you're a link building agency, you would want to talk higher level about some of these things, but you really outlined some fantastic processes that people could embrace if they wanted. And then if they'd rather just focus on all the other things it takes to be successful with a website, obviously now understand the depths that you guys go to We Outreach in terms of building links. So it was really great. And I just appreciate all of the depth that you brought us through here today. So thank you.
Sure thing. And thanks for the good questions, Jared. I mean, I wouldn't have known which areas to talk about if you didn't like tee it up for me like that. So yeah, thanks a lot. It was pretty fun.
That's great. Well, thanks again. Until we talk next time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jared. Bye-bye.
Bye.